Good morning, everybody. Thank you for turning up. We have a demonstration. Obviously, a lot of you guys know Ian. For those that don't, Ian Moss is from Swan, and he kindly came down to do a demonstration.
It's going to be an embellished platter / bowl.
Thank you. You're a gentleman. You're a gentleman. You just wait till afterwards. I'll show you.
Excellent. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, go. Yeah, all right. Get out of here. I've got the show now.
Yep. It's my show now. As I said, it's going to be an embellished platter / bowl. Not a lot of difference, especially when you look at the Wawa competition when they say a platter, and I see half of them shaped like that, which I think is a bowl or a dish. But anyway, that's only my opinion. So I've got a few examples here. Well, this one has embellished rim, which is just a very fine texture, and it's also matching on the back as well. So, have I got a gopher?
Hang on to it. It's not a trophy. You've got to hand it back up.
Yeah, I want most of them back as well. This one is definitely a bowl with, this is my interpretation of dried up salt flats. I also do them in brown to sort of simulate the mud flats when they dry out. So that's another one, once again, matching on the back. So as all you blokes probably have been told, you should make the back or the bottom as good as the front. So
Yes.
this one is a bit of routing on the lathe. So I've done some flutes. I got this idea from David Rector. He made some rings around the circumference and then painted them different colours. And I've worked on this idea. And if you look, this one's quite discreet, but if you just look at it carefully, you will see blue on one side and a green on the other. So, as I say, you've got to wiggle it to get it in the right light. But yeah, that was just a plain, but it's still well finished.
Yeah, cool.
Now, these are the sorts of things I enjoy doing. Yes, and a lot of this is airbrushed, and I'm going to do some airbrushing. In fact, most of the paint I do, even that which looks, fairly flat, I airbrush because you get a much better consistent finish. This one is done with iridescent paints on a black background, just a series of circles overlapping each other and different colours. It's lost a little bit of its highlight because I put some Osmo finish on, which obviously I hadn't done before with this paint, and took the rag off and there's a fair bit of paint on it. So once again, there's a lesson for all of us. Once again, if you're not familiar with your finish and the paint, just check it before. So it's taken a little bit of the highlights off that, but it still looks not bad in the right light. It's another one. Once again, it's all airbrushed. I call this one Raindrops. It's just a dark blue background, and I use the same blue with just a few drops of silver in it, and through a template stencil did the spots on it.
Cheers.
And this one I used a whole lot of masking tape. It's a weird and wacky thing, but once again it's all airbrushed, and it gives quite a nice effect, something a little bit different. So to start off, if you look at all of those, you'll see that they have a pretty nice ogee on the back, which is a convex, here I've got to think about it, convex curve going into a concave. And So all of those ones that have gone around, if you have a look at the back, it should be quite a nice, attractive, smooth, flowing curve, and that's what I'm going to do first. What I'll do, jacaranda blank, I've done some preparation just to save a few minutes, but what I do firstly is decide which is going to be the top face. That's important. Sometimes it doesn't make much difference, but I've decided to go for the top here. Mark out the centre, put my chuck on, open up the jaws, bring up the tail stop, sometimes I use a bit of non-slip matting in between the jaws and the blank. I mark out a groove. This is a spigot, just over 40mm, which is going to fit my chuck jaws. The groove has to be big enough for the jaws to sit in there, and that face at the back should be flat. And I'll just use a parting tool to do that, and then I can turn it round and start turning. You may see some blue tape on that. That means that's jaw number 1, and that fits into. Is the camera picking that up? Yep. Okay, I've marked where jaw number 1 has been, so that the same jaw goes into the same indentations, and I believe that gives you a much better chance of things running through. Not that it matters too much on this, because it's only a blank at the moment. Yep, centre lines up. The jaws. Can you see the 2 lines?
Yes.
I'm not sure what you're picking up there. This outer line is going to be the foot, size of the foot. The inner one is going to be my spigot diameter. So that's what I'm going to do first, just clear away, get rid of some of this waste, leaving the foot and then the spigot. And then I'll start doing the OG. So if you have any questions while we're going along, just ask Jeff. Turn the speed down. Just running a little bit out, but that's fine. I'm using what we would call the 1/2-inch bowl gouge. It's a Sorby tool. They call it 3/8 because they go by the flute width. We go by the overall diameter. So just using the full cut. So this is going to be the, whoops, no one done that before? Hit the stop button. Just right here in the perfect spot for my leg. It'll probably happen again. Alright, putting the top on the back, using a full cut, no bevel rubbing, simply to get rid of the long enough. Now I'm going to turn down some of this for the spigot. So the foot will be shortened. Now the spigot needs to be trued up a little bit with a nice sharp corner. A bit of an angle to suit the big mark dovetail jaws, and I usually just go in with a skew just to give me a nice sharp corner. That's the flat face for the jaws to sit against. So now I've got the spigot for when I turn it around, and I've got the foot. Now then, I'm going to do the OG. This face, which is going to be the top face when I'm finished, I want to know roughly where that is going to be. At the moment it's running all over the place, so I want to true it up just at the edge. So using the bowl gouge with the flute almost at 3 o'clock, scraping cut, which is much safer, I'll just true up. Let's have a look, make sure that is all cleaned up. Yep. So now I know pretty well where the top surface will be. Now, because this is a demo, it won't be finished as well as I would at home, where it'll take much longer. So I'm going to make the rim much thicker, so I can take it home and return it. So normally I would take the rim down to there, but I'm going to leave myself a little extra meat, so I can return it. Now the OG, easiest way to do an OG, nearly 75. Divide it into 3, which all you great mathematicians have got 25 and 50. We don't need 50, but 25. From this line to this one, where the underside of the rim will be, I'm going to do a concave cut. So that's half of the OG. Once again, I will use a pull cut to rip out a lot of the excess before we get near the finished side. Should stop the machine to do these adjustments. Getting close. Probably close enough. Finishes. So it's not as bad as I thought it would be, just using a full cut. We will refine it shortly. Now the next step in doing an OG is, well, we measured from there to there, about 75. This time we go halfway, which is going to be about, what, 37 and a half, isn't it? 37 and a half, back there. And what we're going to do now is just blend in from the bottom of the foot to that line, and that will blend the curve, the convex into the concave. That's the theory, anyway. So just light cuts, because it doesn't take a lot. And then we do a bit of refining. See how that's almost instantly turned that into quite a nice OG. Bit of refining. So this is a shear cut. If you look at the shavings coming off, they are shavings. Okay. It's actually not bad. Not bad. Bit of tear out here. I'll go over the foot. Just a nice light. That's better. When you do this shear scrape, the handle should be down, and these things are giving me a bit of trouble, but just a couple of lines would sand out quite easily.
And just flip the handle over 180 degrees.
Yeah, well, it's this one. Yeah, well, that pulls it out. Let's see. That's. Will probably just let me get into the area I want to. That would stand out, no problem at all. Yep, that's good. If anybody wants to come and have a quick look and see how good that finish is, straight off the tool, be my guest. Right, now, I think the next thing for me to do is turn it around. I don't think I've forgotten anything.
Would you do any sanding at this point?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, I would completely finish that. And I usually power sand. You understand power sanding? A drill, got a Velcro pad with usually 50mm sanding disc on it. And yeah, I'd sand that to power sanding 320 or 400. That would be it. Now then. That's it.
What kind of finish do you prefer in?
Sorry, what kind of finish? I've been using Osmo for the last 12 months. Prior to that, I was using white on poly, satin, and I think that's where I got in trouble with that the circles one, that I hadn't used Osmo on the iridescent paints before. The white on poly didn't affect it as far as I can remember. So yeah, you change to a new finish and it can react. So as I say, it's just taken a little bit of the luster
And where do you get the iridescent paints from?
Okay, we'll get on to that. Give me 2 seconds. So, usually have a centre. Don't over tighten it. If I have a centre in the front, line that up and then tighten it. Just helps with it run with a bit of luck. That will run nice and true. And I'll get back to your question in a sec. Yeah, that's right. Iridescent paints. Well, I'm going to use them today. The Joe Sonia. So you've heard of Joe Sonia's paints. These are Joe Sonia iridescent paints. Funny thing is, it doesn't matter what colour they are, they're all white until they dry. So, yeah, you've got to be careful. You don't put just, piles of paint because you don't know what they are until they dry. So, there's the iridescent paints. I'm going to use them today, so we'll get back to those. What I'm going to do is clean this up. I might give this a bit of a lick on the outside as well, and then we'll prepare it for doing some airbrushing with iridescent. That's what I'm after. So now I'm going to use a traditional push cut with the bevel rubbing. Let's get rid of some of the excess. Helps if the tool rest is nice and flat, no nicks. I sand mine quite frequently, and it's bad. It's funny, isn't it, how club gear always gets hammered more than your own personal gear. This one looks as though it's had a bit of a life. But I'll file mine if I get nicks, because if you've got a nick there, as soon as your tool hits it, it'll jump and you'll get a line in your work. So I sand mine quite frequently, probably 2 or 3 times a day, so the tool just slides. It's not too bad. It's probably good enough for a demo. It's slightly big in the middle. I'll just see if I can improve it. Okay, I've changed the tool. Scraping cut there just to that's not too bad. Right. Now because I'm going to paint it, I will sand it, but I'll just sand it to 120, I think is all I brought. Just give it a light sand. Turn the speed down, and to try and get it flat, I've got a wooden block with Velcro glued on, and obviously the Velcro sandpaper, and lightly you can see high spots and low spots. Low spot there I just like to get rid of. will do fine for a demo. At home I would take a lot more care and I sand it down to 400 before painting. Now, time for some painting. Let's see.
So you're going to do the painting before you do the hollowing for the...
Yes, yep, I always, that's much wider than the finished rim. So I will paint all this and then I'll work back and I'll just keep nibbling away until I think, yep, that's the right width for the rim. So, yep, I know some people take out the middle, then do the painting, but I don't. So, you have to do it both ways and see which suits you. Now then, I've got to mix up a little. I have to do a black background. Iridescent paints work much better with a dark, preferably black background. Now airbrushes will not work with paint straight out of the tube. That's what I'm looking for. You have to thin them down.
Is that acrylic or enamel?
It's acrylic. It's just a Matisse. Once again, I use Joe Sonia or Matisse. This is Office Works. It's a good one, made in Australia. You can pass it around if you want. It ticks all the boxes as far as UV light, etc., etc. But Joe Sonia is the same. I use either.
Are you thinning that down with just standard thinners, or are you using water? Or
You can use water. This, not plugging it, but did any of you come to down here a couple of years, 2-3 years ago, an airbrush course? No? Oh, you did. Oh, you did. Remember a guy named Wayne? Yeah, yeah. I didn't like his teaching technique a lot, but he was good at painting his car. That was brilliant. But anyway, I got a couple of things out of his course, and one of them was this thing. It's you buy it as a concentrate. It's a Trident is the brand, and it's called Trident Reducer. And yeah, I was impressed. It's good for cleaning the gun, your airbrush, and I also use it for thinning down. Joe Sonia also makes a thing. What do they call it? Flow. Thank you, Robin. Flow medium, which is a milky substance. I've got some of that at home too. I use either one. They're supposed to, get the a touch more diluted without losing your colour, the vibrancy of your colour. So, right. So I don't know how true it is. Could be just another con. But anyway, we try. So, now what I do, I aim for this corner with the machine going, and that way you will get a nice sharp edge on your paint. If you come at it from this direction, you'll spray the edge and possibly the back. So I hope it works. So this one is nice and easy, just black. Just go back and forth, lots of things going. Don't leave the brush in one spot. If you want to know anything technical, you need higher air pressure. I use for acrylic paints, even when they're thinned down, probably 30 to 35 psi. If I'm spraying dyes, which are like water, you can go down to 25. No problem at all. The only problem with using an airbrush is cleaning them. They're a pain. Changing colours. It's nice if you've got 6 different airbrushes. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's okay. I've only got a touch left, so I'll whack that on. So you can see by doing it that direction, so you've got a nice sharp edge there. I mean, you could clean it up just turning it off anyway. Come on, I thought you were running out. A little bit goes a long way. There we are. Got. So what I'll do is I'm going to put some gloves on now because things get a bit messy when I've got to change colours. I brought four of these Joe Sonias, and I've got some rags to quick first. Also, if you're spraying acrylic paints, it's a good idea to, I don't want to get too technical, but they have different needle sizes. So the bigger needle size copes with the higher viscosity stuff. This one's got a 0.5 needle. I did bring another one. Yep, I've got another airbrush with me. That's got a 0.35. So this should coat better with it. Okay, let's mix up the next colour. What shall we have? Gold, blue, green. And toilet paper is indispensable when you're doing airbrushing. For doing this, it's also good if things go wrong with your demo. So what do we have? Do a bit of gold to start with. So make sure you shake them up. I don't know whether the camera will pick that up, but that you can see that's gold. Can you see that? But when that's just white. I'm going to pass it round. Have a look. Now then, this is the next part of this. It's going to be a lot easier if I put it up this way. The camera can pick that up. Is that okay? Right. Just get rid of these for the time being. Now what I do is, you saw that one with circles. Now I made those circles myself. I just bought a bit of film from Jackson's, put it on an MDF faceplate with a skew, turn the circle, and I've got an internal and external shape. But if you go to a craft shop, you get these little MDF thingies, and you know, you can get a theme. In this case, I'm going to do some gears, all different gears. I've got a bag of gears there that I haven't used. But you can get all sorts of things, bicycles, aeroplanes, leaves, butterflies, you name it. Pass those around. Well, I'll just keep a few gears here. Thanks. So you can, you know, pick a theme, and away you go. So I'll grab a big gear and just plonk him anywhere, does not matter, just, yeah, I'll stick the other glove on. Now this is where less is more, and you've got to be careful. These are called double action airbrushes. Push it down and you just get air. No paint comes out. But if I pull the trigger back, then the paint starts to come out. And depending on how, you know, if you pull it right back, you get maximum flow. So you have to be very careful, because I don't want a huge amount. I say let's put my glasses on so got a bit of a chance of seeing what's going on. So we can just, yeah, a bit of product, and there we are. Just a whisker of a, let's say, less is more. Can you see that starting to take shape? Can the camera pick it up, or is it just a little bit too faint?
Yeah, maybe hold the plate up so we can face on.
Where?
Face on.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, this one. All right.
Yeah.
All right, just hang on.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. See that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you go over the top, and you can see from the other ones, I used the different colours, so it gives you a much better effect. This is just going to be gold on gold, which is not going to be that. I'll change. I'm not going to do the whole thing, obviously, but this is just to give you an idea of how I go about some of these things. I will change to a different colour to give you an idea of the effect. We'll go for blue, green, yeah, blue. Dilute him. Make sure. Okay. No, you can't see any colour. All you can see is very fine spray. In fact, I'm not even looking here. I'm looking at the gear. Making sure that I'm not putting too much on it. I've just got a very fine spray. don't know what it's very discreet, and you can be as you know, lavish as you like. Can you see the blue coming through there? No, it's a bit discreet. You've got to be up a bit closer. All right. Well, we'll yeah, it's maybe not a good thing for the camera. Let's see what we got. Different one here.